right. Well, this has been a long time coming. Allie, I think we had you on maybe our first ever, or which is a long time ago when we started doing these impact masterminds. We were just getting going with First Home IQ, and now it's been probably 3 years. Do you think?
Yeah, no, I was thinking that same thing when I saw y'all's text last night. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like y'all have been go, go, go.
Yeah, yeah, and so have you. So, as I kick things off, I want to get a little bit of an update from you. And just for everybody who is joining, Allie was one of our first. I think we could call you a founder friend because you were really helping us get everything going. You were advising on social media and just the Gen Z, outlook. And so it is just amazing to have you back here. We, of course, have been doing these First Home IQ Impact Masterminds as a way to bring education to the community, free to anybody, with the idea of building trust through education in your markets across the country. So, thank you everybody for joining. Before we get to Ali, kind of an update from you and reintroduction to the community, Dave, anything that you would add as we kind of kick things off?
Well, first of all, thank you, Ali. You've just to think how much you've grown, and I've seen you grow as a leader in the mortgage industry over the past 3 years. I think it's okay if everybody follows Ali Crowley Mortgage.
Cardi,
So, Ali Crowley Mortgage,
Ali Cardi.
oh my God, Ali Cardi. There's a whole story why I called you Crowley, but sorry about that, Ali. Ali Cardi.
It's really fine.
Uh,
No, you're
yeah, but she does just an incredible job of using social media, using technology to create value for people, to make them smarter, do it in a way that's fun, entertaining. So congrats to you on that. And I would love for this to be one of the most interactive masterminds. So big push to folks watching this. If something is said that you like, let us know that. Use the little reaction buttons, put a quote in chat, and then ask questions. So please be as interactive as you can. And I'm excited about the conversation. Let's roll.
All right. So, Allie, I know you have been at Guild for the last few years, leading market research and social. I believe the Guild's creator community, is that right, of loan officers? And I know you're also making a transition. So, and I think you bought a home since we last had you on, right?
There's been a lot of movement all around.
Okay. Yeah. Give us a quick update.
Totally. Well, first of all, thank you all both for having me on. It has been a long time coming since like I first got introduced to both of you guys. Entering the industry at Active Comply, which was a social media compliance company that I worked for when I first got thrown into the madness, I looked at Kristen and Dave as just such industry pioneers and just like trailblazing. And so me being 23, 24, it was really pivotal in my career and like what I hope to do in the industry to meet both y'all so early. So thank you for one, investing in my career 3, 4 years ago when I first got started and continuing that. Y'all are really like advocating for change and helping the first time home buyers, not just of today, but of the future. So thank y'all. All that being said, yes, there's been a lot of fun things that have happened since we last spoke. I have started and been leading the creator community here at Guild, which is a loan officer focused social media coaching group. We've had over 600 loan officers within Guild raise their hands, sign up, and really just be intentional about their personal and professional brand through platforms like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's really unique and something I have been really passionate about building. And I was so grateful for Adam O'Daniel and our team saying, yes, let's do it. On top of that, I'm really passionate, much like Kristen and Dave, about that next generation home buyer. And I think data really paints a powerful story. And so last August, I went to my leadership team and I said, hey, I think we should invest in actual market research. I reached out to Kristen for her thoughts because she's done an incredible job with First Home IQ and through partnerships in the past with your next gen research. And we finally, as of January, have a lot of data to share. And it's in a format that I can articulate it and have conclusions to share with y'all today. And so that's what I've been doing the past 2-ish years. And I actually, very ironically, Friday will be my last day with Guild. I have a very exciting career update to come next Monday. That will be on the back burner. Follow me on LinkedIn to figure out where that is. But all that said, I'm leaving Guild with the most amazing, grateful heart and excited to have one last chance to share this data with this group today.
Great. I hope I didn't
Oh
overshare.
no,
I
you're
just
so fine. All
realized.
Guild
Okay,
knows is
good.
right. It's very new news, but
I'm
I
glad
will
I
be making
didn't.
a post about it on Monday where I'm going.
Okay,
Hey,
exciting.
hey,
Fun.
real quick, because I know we want to talk about how to, connect with the next gen home buyer, and we're going to learn about your research. But you said that I've had the opportunity to work with 600-ish loan officers to leverage social media.
Yeah.
I don't want to hijack the purpose of the call, but I have sincere curiosity. What are a couple things you've learned about loan officers, knowing that you've had 600 in this? Like, give us a couple takeaways there. But let's not hijack the call.
Oh,
But I
for sure.
just
Well,
have
I
to
will
hear what
say
you've
real
learned.
quick, I have, a list of questions, a lot around the research, but then as you said that, I thought the same thing. Like, I would like to know some of the things that come to mind of what you've learned. And so, yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that we're gonna take that first step in that direction because it has been so interesting, coming from the vendor space where I was and being like, oh, I'm gonna work with loan officers all day. It's gonna be great. It has been a slow burn to get everyone on board because y'all probably know social media is not a short-term like sales cycle. It's a long-term sales cycle. You got to really just build relationships, build trust, transparency. But one of the biggest things that I've learned in working with all of our loan officers is one, a lot of people at Guild are very nervous, but then once they start getting like comfortable on video, on social, they really do captivate an audience. And there's been so many tremendous success stories really through TikTok. So if anyone's listening and they have not taken the time to at least be a lurker on TikTok, that's always my first step. Get an account set up, doesn't have to be your name, just be familiar with it, and over time start to figure out how you could develop a brand on there because there's so many people out there looking for that trust, transparency, and there's not a lot of home lending professionals or even real estate agents that are out there doing it in a consumer facing way. And so that would be my biggest thing that I've learned is like there really is an audience out there that is scrolling TikTok primarily. And the thing that I learned the most as someone who studied social media is a lot of consumers or first time home buyers find someone on TikTok and then go to their Instagram page and direct message them from there and say, hey, I've been following your content on TikTok and Instagram. I want to set up time to chat. I'm looking to buy in the Salt Lake City area over the next 6 months. And another thing is like with social media, it's a very early touch point for first time home buyers. Like they're like, I don't want to buy tomorrow and I don't want to be hard sold, but I want to have a person that I can trust and that I've been following for a while that can walk me through the process. Does that make sense? I hope that answers. Like for me, I was shocked to see the actual business that was coming from a platform like TikTok, which in 2020 was mainly like dances and all these fun trends. So that's been a really eye-opening experience, coaching loan officers on it, and also hearing just the messages they're getting from buyers.
Yeah, so I guess it surprises me a little bit, like the focus on lead gen through that. I feel like I always think of social media as brand, like when you get a lead, people check you out on social media. And so what would you say, like, do you see people actually, it sounds like you do see people getting leads from showing up on social media and it's beyond just the brand builder or credibility builder. What would you say are some of the kind of benefits around it? Like, do you see a lot of people getting leads out of that, or is it coming from
Yeah.
the other direction?
I think it's a mix, but I will say the most surprising thing has been the actual lead gen from it. But there is definitely a mix because, like, the people who are getting opportunities out of it, it's probably like 50 to 60 loan officers that have messaged me and been like, I've had a win out of the 600. So, like, 10% are getting like first, like, touches through TikTok. But then other people are like, hey, I went to pick up a prescription from the pharmacy. And my pharmacist said, my son has been watching your videos on YouTube and he's going to be reaching out. And it's just also like recognition in your local community, not just with first time home buyers, but with parents of first time home buyers or real estate agents that are also wanting to invest time in social media. And so I think it's a mix, but I would say about 10% can have so far like really generated opportunities, like 1 to 2, not tremendous amounts, but over time I do think it builds up.
Real quick. And again, I don't want to hijack this. And Kristen's
Yeah.
got questions we got to get into
No,
here.
no, no, you're good. You're
But
good.
but I mean, we are talking how to connect with the next gen home buyer, and you got to be where they're at. And I do know they're in TikTok. Like I knew that intellectually. I just went to go look at TikTok, and I had to re-download the app. So clearly, I'm not using TikTok very often. But I did download the app, and I'm going to take action on that. I've also heard that Reddit has really climbed. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I never heard Reddit except for kind of, I don't know, just people that
It's
I
all,
didn't think were crushing it. But I feel like ever since AI's come here, we know AI is getting trained on Reddit. Are you seeing Reddit as a real place to connect and build trust and communicate with next gen buyers? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. I will say I haven't had any loan officers come to me and say, "Hey, I found this opportunity through Reddit." But like you said, AI is using Reddit as a huge source of where they're getting their information. And I've had at least 45 to 50 loan officers in the creator community say, "Hey, I have had success through a buyer finding me through ChatGPT." And so I think through osmosis, Reddit is playing a part, but I haven't had any direct, hey, I got this lead from Reddit, or hey, someone recommended me on Reddit. I think it's similar to like business or Facebook community pages like 10 years ago, where it was like there's opinions there, but there is a lot of power in referrals. So I do think Reddit is something I'm going to continue to keep an eye on, but I will also second Dave, like it's evolved very quickly from where it was even a year ago. I think it was a lot less targeted when you were searching on the platform. And now, with the help of AI, but also infrastructure on the app itself, it started to be a little bit more targeted and really helping like in the home buying sector. So short
Right.
answer, yes, I think it's very valuable. I don't know if it's to the place of TikTok, Instagram, Facebook today.
Yeah. And by the way, audience, great job on the questions, the comments. Chris and I will pull those in a minute. I do want to put just a explanation on everything she said, because Bruce Gerke, who is with JD Powers, he's actually the head of lending for JD Powers, did a LinkedIn post the other day, and I did a podcast. I think I'm actually releasing it in our YouTube channel today with Bruce, and he commented at what a large percent of first time home buyers are using AI. And it's also come up in a lot of my interviews where loan officers are saying, "Hey, I'm getting business from chat. Hey, a realtor found me on chat." And so I do think, I don't know about threads. Uh, and Kristen, thank you for Kristen Brown. She mentioned that one person recommended me on Reddit once. I received around 6 leads and 3 closed loans. That's pretty
Wow.
cool. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, that was the first quarter. We still got 3 quarters.
Ali, any response to that around threads or other, platforms?
Yeah, I would say best practice for threads is to just have an account and be out there and make it aligned with whatever your other social handles are. Studies show threads is really not super monumental when it comes to like I haven't had any success within the creator community. We do coach on it, but the best practice is just keeping an account active and maybe posting once a week to be out there. Instagram is doing a big push to try to lead people there, but there just hasn't been as many consumers there as I think they initially had hoped for. So my best advice, post once a week, maybe make it on a Monday, and just be thought provoking, share articles, much like you would on Twitter X, and make sure to stay away from controversial topics. But once a week is good for that platform. I have not seen a ton of traction from there yet.
So, just while we're on this topic, and I want to take a step back and look at the research and that kind of thing, but you mentioned first step is to just kind of look around, like go on TikTok, check things out. What do you find, like, what do you teach as best practice in the creator community as next step from there?
Yeah, so once you're comfortable, like you know the home button, you know the direct messages, like you I always say be a lurker. I was guilty of being a lurker the first 2 months I had TikTok because I didn't know what to do with it. So that's always like, hey, get there and just like get comfortable. And then the best practice is just invest in your profile. AI is scanning your profile too. So having keywords like mortgage, home financing, if you're a real estate agent, real estate, Nashville, home, like having your city in your bio. So just making sure your profile is optimized with like AI in consideration. And if you're like, what do I do? Go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to optimize my profile on TikTok. Can you help me come up with a bio, a username, and the best title? And it's going to help you come up with keywords that are going to help feed the algorithms. Algorithms is a big word, but I just use it because that's what people most likely have questions around. But I will say, like, algorithms really are not that scary. It's just kind of the science behind the platforms, and they're always changing. So once you're comfortable, optimize your profile, and your first 3 videos on TikTok will get the most traction. Scientifically, it has been studied. It tries to promote your like what's the when your dopamine, I don't know, whenever you feel really good about yourself, your first 3 videos are going to do well. After that, your fourth, you will see a substantial like plateau. And that's just because the way the algorithm works, it's going to try to like promote you up front, and then you get comfortable and it's going to slowly start to build back up. So I always give that caution for anyone that's starting out on TikTok. Don't get discouraged on your fourth post.
That's really good insider advice. Love it. Um, So I want to take a little bit of a step back and we can come back into social media. But given how much research you have led and understand it, I mean, you've been Gen Z guru for a long time. You supported the Gen Z report, Next Gen Homebuyer report we did. And of course, being a Gen Z yourself, would love to know what you have found through the research to be, what maybe as an industry we often get wrong about Gen Z.
Yeah, I would love to also hear your takes and like just share this data with you personally, Kristen, because I know we haven't even had a conversation around it. So excited to dive into some of my biggest takeaways. Before we do that, I do want to just before we get off social, Michelle said, what do I need to do post comment on Reddit? Focus on keywords. So Michelle, if you are a mortgage loan officer, use the word mortgage a lot, use your city, use real estate. Those few words, it's going to allow AI to really associate your name, your brand with what you do. And over time, if there's enough positive words around that, whether it's from you or other accounts, it will start to send that into the algorithm or the SEO score for AI to then promote you. But I would just say focus on keywords around home lending, mortgage, real estate, and your city.
I want to just pile onto that real quick. You know, on any social media, what she said is important when you're creating content for AI. And then there's riches and niches. So, right now we're talking about first time home buyers. So think about like you are a human, you are local. So make sure to Allie's point, you want to put that signal in there, but put first time home buyers and like Sean Herrero, he focuses on first responders and helping people in the military. Like he's got his niche. Make sure that you're putting that and you're doing that in all social media, even when you're creating YouTube content. YouTube content is getting picked up, it's getting transcribed, and it's highly valuable if you follow the direction that Ali just gave you.
Yes. Great call out, Dave. All platforms, that's the best recommendation. But I wanted to just take a moment because I saw the question and I was like, if we don't come back to it, I will feel bad. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But so, Kristen, I think a lot of the conclusions I drew from the data. So, just so everyone's aware, we worked with a company called YouGov, and they work not just in the mortgage industry, but industry across different industries. And it was really important for me to find a vendor that was not just mortgage niche because it is nice to get outside of like a lot of the other like data funnels that we have. They're so incredible, but it also allows us to ask more like thought provoking questions. Like we included questions on AI, we asked about social media channels. There was a lot of cool things that we were able to uncover, but the number one thing, and it was shocking to me, was the negative connotation around home buying. And for me, I just bought a house. I forgot to even talk about that. I bought a house in January, my first house. It's awesome. It's not my forever home, but it's a great starter spot. And so, as someone who just bought a house, a lot of pessimism is associated with our industry still. And I think that could be a mix of just affordability issues, but also like a lack of financial literacy and really understanding how to buy a home. I wrote down some stats to share with y'all around that, but for example, 31% said they don't even know where to start. 59% said they need help understanding the entire home buying process. And the respondents were 18 to 29-year-olds, so essentially Gen Z men and women. And all around the country, we made sure it was representative of the whole entire United States. And it was about 1,100 respondents. And we're going to do it 4 times this year. So hopefully we'll get closer to like 4,500 respondents. But for now, that's what I have to share. And it was just really eye-opening to me the amount of people who associated predatory lending with our industry, and like this fear of getting scammed or fear of they're only in it for their own motives. And like we did open-ended questions through the research too. And one of the craziest things to me is like people felt like they were being sold to, whether it's real estate or home lending. But like one of the quotes was, I think homeownership would feel possible if I had a guide that had no ulterior motive or any incentive to want to make money off of me buying a home. Another one said, they just should not try to sell me on the idea of buying a home. Instead, answer my questions honestly, even if they make me doubt buying a home. And I think it's just I always talk about this term coffees for closers. And it's just how, like, I think our industry started cold calling and just like hammering the phones. You got to make dials, close deals. And the next generation has just looked at that as like so scammy and like they're going to lose money. And I know we're not like that, but for some reason, that first time home buyer today has that negative connotation of being oversold or wrongly put into a home. So I would
Yeah.
love to hear your thoughts around that.
Yeah, this is an area that we've been tracking in our next gen homebuyer report since 2021, was looking at this distrust and
Yeah.
seeing how few really trusted the industry and trying to drill into why that is. This year was the first time we did actually like a battery of questions around trust to find out what really is it about that lack of trust. And it was about this fear of being taken advantage of and this fear that or this thing about the incentives not being aligned that and I felt this when I was going through the home buying process. I mean, this was back in 2021 where I would say to people who I loved and cared about a lot, like I have family and friends and people I trust my life with, and yet when they would say you should buy a home, I'm like, you're paid to tell me that though, like it's not I'm not saying that you mean harm on me. I just know that incentives are that this is how this is set up. So I actually have a couple of like we have a section in our report just on this that only 1 in 8 are confident that they won't be taken advantage of by a housing professional. And this was across loan officers and real estate agents. And we compared both and they were similar, but 6 in 10 expect the housing system to work against them. There's fear of being taken advantage of, pressured around bad decisions, fear of being pressured around bad decisions, fear that they're not being told about better options. So anyway, this topic I think is really, really important for our industry to understand and why, what at First Home IQ are really focused on. So yeah, it's interesting to see how much that aligned.
Well, and we asked, do you trust? Like, we asked on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust each individual? And only 21% trusted the mortgage industry. 75% trusted friends and family for financial guidance. And so there's a huge gap there, but it's not surprising to me. I just was like, wow, 21% look at our industry as like with a distrusting mindset.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, a strategy that I've been working on our loan officers around and like, okay, what do we do with this data is like, okay, we understand they don't trust us. How do we build that? And I will say a lot of the people who have found opportunities or gotten messages from people on Instagram or TikTok, it's been following their account for like 3 to 4 months, seeing their consistent content and knowing that their personality isn't going to be a hard seller, or they've delivered so much value in those 3 to 4 months. Y'all know the saying, like, give three things before you ask for one in like the sales world. I feel like consumers who get value out of social content without the creator even knowing, they are saying, oh, I'm getting value. They're not just trying to sell me something. They're really wanting to help me. And so over time, they're more obligated to reach out. And at that point, there's a lot more trusting of a relationship than a fear of being taken advantage of, because they feel like they know the person. And so I always plug social when people are like, what's the strategy here? But I really do believe, and I've seen all of our loan officers who have committed to it build some type of trusting relationship through their social presence. So that would be a strategy that I would really use when it comes to trust, is staying consistent, posting 3 to 4 times a week, and having the mentality of what's in it for them, not what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So I want to bring in the voice of JD Powers again, because I just recently interviewed him. Bruce is very active on LinkedIn, but he's got this data point that 79, again, this is according to JD Powers, 79 of customers now give high marks to lenders who provide proactive guidance and advice. And that is a significant jump from previous years, especially with first-time home buyers. And he goes on to talk about how human connection matters more than ever in a digital world. And Allie, at some point, you and Kristen weigh in. I think that is even higher with Gen Z, even though they use tech and they're native with tech. Uh, and this is one thing that I thought kind of like made it tactical, is where it said, let me see where I'm looking at my notes right now. And he says his data shows that satisfaction is significantly higher when the relationship begins with education rather than application. So I would push everybody to think about this. The more you're kind of like being proactive, the more you're educating beyond what you need to, and you're not an app taker. You're not I want to close you a loan. I'm not the coffee for closer vibes with commission vibes, but the more, hey, I just want to help you, and whether or not it serves you, like even if you're, to Allie's point, you're gonna give them data and it ends up them saying, no, I don't, I guess now's not the right time. By the way, you will get when it is the right time, and they will refer the heck out of you to all their friends and family members. Any thoughts on that, Allie or Kristen?
I would totally agree. I think, like Dave said, like just leaving what's in it for them, again, not what's in it for you. And I didn't talk about my home buying experience, but I found my real estate agent on TikTok. And, working in this industry, I had so much pressure on me. I felt internally, nobody put it on me, but I put it on myself. Like, who am I going to work with? How am I going to document it? And over about a year and a half, I'd been following this real estate agent, and my boyfriend would send me posts that he would make of the homes. And I would be like, oh, I love that house. And so I finally DM'd him and I was like, hey, I've been following your content for a while. I would love to go see this house. And just the way that he used social to not only talk about like the properties that he was like showing or he was working with, but he also showed who he was as a person. And like he owned horses, and like he was a dog dad, and like there was all these things that I related to outside of just the home buying process that built trust. And so when Dave says show up with education, 100%, but you can't just educate. Also bring in parts of who you are as a person, because that builds that relatability and more likelihood that someone's going to be like, oh, they're just like me. They're not going to try to pull wool over my eyes. So education, and also just parts of who you are as a human.
By the way, Kristen Brown asked the question that I wanted, like, who is this guy? Like let's put the word out. You willing to
Oh, my
share?
real estate agent. I always plug him. If I was doing a presentation deck, I would share his TikTok, but it's Colton in Nashville. That is his. He has a different TikTok than Instagram, but let me confirm. Colton, yeah,
Hey,
Colton.
Bolton in Nashville. We got it. So make sure we follow this guy, because what he's doing is sounds like a best practice. I mean, Allie had to make a decision not only for herself, but she was trying to, you heard her talk like, hey, in the industry, I need to be very thoughtful about who I pick, why I pick, how I pick. And he checked all the boxes. And it sounds like he delivered on the promise. You know, he
He will
killed it.
get all of my referrals, and like he's just been really great, even post closing, like sending me reminders. So I learned a lot about the value because both my parents are in the mortgage industry, but like the real estate agent, I really got to learn a lot about when I was buying my first home and how pivotal they are in the process. Because y'all know I'm immersed in this side all day. So that was a huge learning lesson for me too. And I think it speaks volumes to the power of meeting someone through social, but then also having follow up that's like appropriate.
Yeah, I remember when I was going through the last home buying process, I didn't want to go through any friend or connection because I wanted to see what it would be like if I didn't have that. And the
Mm.
pressure of like, being a researcher documenting this and I was like, but then I also was so overwhelmed of where do I go though? And so I think the natural response is where do I go for anything? For me, I go to YouTube or I go to, the people the content creators that I follow. And we had a great question in the chat about does a good content creator equal a good realtor or a loan officer? And I think, it is these are two different things, I think, for a lot of people of like what it means to create good content or create good education versus someone who is going to be good at at leading you through that process. It sounds like you had that same, equal experience. I did have a friend who found her real estate agent through Instagram, following just going to different webinars that they'd offered, and then did not have a good experience initially. Moved to a different real estate agent because they weren't responsive, and so I know that doesn't always equal the same, but I'm curious your thoughts on, especially leading the creator community, how do you help people, be able to communicate? Like, how do you answer that, I guess, of like, of course, these are two different things.
Yeah, and I think every institution is going to be different. Like some people will just be the front end of it, and then they have a whole team, but not everyone can do that. And a lot of the creator communities that creator community members that I work with, like I'll have one-on-ones, and I can tell they're really great at their job. They're just wanting to get to that next level. And so, what's special about what we've built at the creator community is it's like a localized feel. So I always say the goal is not to go viral; it's just to be a local lender, and have your name recognizable. And so I always say, like, do not overexert yourself. If you can post once a week, do once a week. And that's really how I think it's different from being a great influencer, being out there. Because there are people who just, like I said, are the front of the funnel and then they have a team supporting them. And that's a great content creator. And that is like what they're getting paid to do. With the creator community, they're a great loan officer, hopefully. And then they're also just trying to up level their game and have some digital presence. And that's where I think you find the happy medium where they're not an influencer, but they're still online. And that would be the best recommendation for anyone. Like, don't overexert yourself, but just add it to the piece, like to the pie of what you're doing. Like I always we call it green time at Guild, where you're like doing outbound calls or you're doing follow up or just things that are benefiting your business. And I just consider social a part of green time, not end all be all. Versus a creator or a content creator, it would just be end all be all. That's all you're focused on a majority of your day. So I do think being a good content creator does not make someone a good realtor or loan officer. Being a good loan officer or realtor can over time make you a good content creator, but not overnight.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to throw something just from the field. We had Sean Herrero last week on the Friday mastermind, the Win by Name mastermind, and Sean did 130 million last year, and this year he's on track for 250 million. And he was sharing one of his best lead sources. I actually asked him, like, of all the things that you do, what are some of the highest performing strategies? And he mentioned a post that he does, every week on Instagram. He'll provide different updates. Now, again, he does it in super creative ways. He's very elite with how he shows up on Instagram, very authentic. But he's like, literally, here's a guy that is just killing it and winning one to many. And he talked about his weekly update on Instagram, how it's truly one of his best top of the funnel lead gen sources. So, and he's not Gen Z. I think he is X, but he's connecting in all demographics, and over 50% of his business are first time home buyers. So make
Yeah.
note.
Yeah, I think just connecting these dots, I mean, when there's so much distrust, like we have to accept that there is just naturally a lot of distrust in this industry. And the way that you're going to show up and what I'm hearing from you absolutely validates this, and the research and your experience is to lead with education. And that's going to be on every channel that you are comfortable leading, and so that's, of course, in person, providing more education, not being the I think Dave talked about commission breath, or someone talks about that a lot. And it's like, you don't want to come out with that, but leading with education, just giving, serving. And it's the same thing, it sounds like, on social media too. And finding ways to do that is then the technique part of that.
And it
Hey,
doesn't have to be freaking like, all right, Allie, what do I say? It's Monday morning, I gotta make a video. It's like taking a video of your coffee mug and being like, trying out this new creamer today. Have y'all tried it? Like just creating conversation that isn't just trying to hard sell. It doesn't have to be, we have this great new loan product. Did you know that you can get 3%, like all of these different things? That gets a little overwhelming. So making sure, yes, leading with education. Hey, I just had this conversation with a first time home buyer. I want to make sure y'all are aware of XYZ. That's a great post. And then the next day, making a post about being at T-ball practice and being a proud dad, or like whatever is your brand. Make sure what you would post on Facebook 5, 6 years ago for your friends to see, that's also coming to your Instagram, your TikTok, your network that you're trying to build.
That's
hey,
so good.
Michelle, just put a question. How would you approach someone who's not necessarily local? And my answer on that, Michelle, is first of all, I'm interviewing more loan officers than ever that, are killing it where they live, but they've either moved to where they want to live, like Keith Collins, who I interviewed, came from Northern California to Nashville, and they're winning in two markets. I could tell story after story of people that are winning in multiple markets. So first of all, if you have a couple of focused markets, hashtag them both. Hashtag your primary, hashtag your secondary. Make sure you're doing that, and just I see that as a growing trend. Allie or Kristen, anything you want to comment on Michelle's chat?
Michelle, I would say just being a member of the community. So, for instance, I live in Nashville, but like I have all of my friends from high school, college, and Florida. And so, taking the time to engage with the content, even if it's out of state, when you see it on your timeline, that's going to help feed the algorithm that you're an active like member there of the community. And when you are engaging, commenting, hyping people up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, like it's going to see that you're engaging with people in that market. And then, like Dave said, make sure your location is going to go between the two markets based on like whatever the context is. So, for example, like in Nashville, we had steeplechase, which is a horse racing thing over the weekend. And so, if I was in Florida, I would still make a post about going to steeplechase in the past, just to again build local community recognition. I still do business here. I'm very involved. I've loved my time there. And it's also not a hard sell with a post like that. So I think being an active member with content creators in both areas, or in NYC and New England and all parts of New York, that's going to help. And then differentiating where you tag your location, just picking, like, even if it's an educational post, pick one of the cities that you work in, and then the next educational post, pick a different one. That's just going to help target it to the different areas.
One thing you said that I want to highlight is that it's not just about putting out tons of education. I tend to always kind of go that direction and then realize, like, I mean, our research shows a ton of overwhelm. Like, people are so overwhelmed with the amount of information available. So I think that's really important, the balance that you're bringing in, this authenticity, partnership, showing up in your community authentically. I'm curious if you have any kind of pattern that you share with people, or structure around their posts that you share, that's like Gen Z friendly content. Like if you're creating a video, it looks like this, or if you're creating a post, like here's some
Yeah.
tips to follow.
So my equation is 30, 60, 10. And so I do 30%. Here's who I am as a human. I love Elvis Presley. I have a golden doodle. I live in Nashville. I go to Orange Theory, like that is my brand. 60%, here's what's going on in my work life. Here's anniversary I'm celebrating. Here's a partner luncheon I did. Here's an event I attended over the weekend. 60% mortgage, finance, education, talking about products, storytelling, success stories, and then 10% call to action. And so the 10% is the miss that I think some people have when they're making content. And it can really toe the line of being salesy, but that's why it's only 10% and it's not 50%. 10% is asking for business. I mean, like, hey guys, I am out at a local open house today. Feel free to come by, see me. Would love to talk to you about your home buying journey. Or, hey y'all, next Tuesday, I'm doing a home buyer webinar. Please pop in. Here's the link. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions. And just kind of having that 10% reminder that like, hey, my inbox is open and I'm always happy to hop on a call or talk out loud for free. There's no ulterior motive. And so that would be the process: 30% personal, 60% mortgage, education, 10% call to action.
Hey, Ali, let's just workshop real quick that call to action, because I think you do such a great job. And even the way you're scripting just now, like, hey y'all, I'm going to be at an open house, come see me. You do a call to action so naturally, and it almost like it's a value. Like it's not like you're giving people a service. Talk about the do's and don'ts, because I'm sure you have seen some loan officers that like give the Ginsu knife commercial, and it's just like
Yeah.
even that 10% is like obnoxious. And then you've seen some where that 10%, like, oh my God, that was really slick, cool, approachable, high trust value. Any do's or don'ts that you've seen around how to do that and how not to do that?
Yeah, I think don't overthink it. Like, don't overscript yourself, because some of the loan officers that I started out coaching, like, they'd be like, they would put a script in their phone and then they'd read it. And then that's where you really get the like, oh, this guy is not genuine at all. Like, versus like some of the loan officers that I see that actually get traction on webinars or get people direct messaging them. It's like very genuine talking to a friend. Like, let's say the mentality I would have when I was creating a video. Hey, y'all, this is what I'm doing this week. I would love to talk to you. Come by, check it out. It's like you're going to send it in your friend group chat, right? Like you are going to go to your phone where I have my 10 best friends from college that I always send them updates. That's like the mentality when you're recording a video. That would be a call to action. And I just wouldn't overscript it, and don't be like, oh my gosh, that sounds too casual. I'm not being me. Just make that 10% not overthought, if that makes
Guys,
sense.
I just made a note to myself, like pretend that you're leaving a message to close friends, and it's casual, formal, it's super authentic. I love that. And
And
I
I
guess
think you do
like,
a great job with that, Dave. Like you will send me voice notes and you're like, hey, Allie, I just want to know how I can help you. And I'm like, that's just a great way to like lead and like give. And so just have that through social. It may seem inorganic at first, but you will see like if you show up genuinely, it will come back tenfold.
love
Yeah,
that.
I love that. I mean, Dave, you have built your career on trust, and you've like I think that you've done this in some different ways than Ali has, but it's all been authentic connection. And I think, some like rules or not even rules, some of the technique changes depending on platform and channel. But you've both done a very similar thing where it's authentic community building. So, and I feel like on social media, at least what I'm hearing from you, Ali, and what I'm seeing is that you want people to feel safe enough to raise their hand. And so it's not about necessarily, always looking polished. It's about creating safety. And so I love what both of you have done around that.
One of my favorite stories, and I'll just quickly share it. I went up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I mispronounced it the entire time I was
Oh,
there.
what a cool
Uh,
place that is.
Very interesting. I'd never been there, and I was going out to do one of our events through Guild with some of their real estate agent partners. And I got there, and the gentleman that had invited me, tremendous man, he's awesome. He showed up in full suit and like just very mortgage industry. Y'all know, like my dad was a mortgage loan officer. He was a manager. My mom's been in the industry. When they first started, you show up full suit and tie, you leave personal at the door. It's very sharp. And that's how the gentleman who had invited me up, he was very like professional. And I was like, let's do a video. And he's like, oh, I forgot my tie or something. Like it was part of his suit that he forgot. And I was like, come on. I was like, we got to make this more approachable because at the end of the day, as much as when a first time home buyer shows up, they're going to get the professional you. I'm not asking you to change, but they also need to understand that you're not going to be a finance bro that's going to oversell them and try to talk stock market, high acronyms, like all these different things. And I was like, you got to show up approachable on social. And I remember seeing him be like, so uncomfortable because that's not how our industry has been taught to be. But on social, you have to do that because otherwise people will be like, oh my gosh, I could never message this guy. He's going to be way too professional, way too like high level. I'm worried I'm going to get left in the dust. And so when Kristen said like just being present and not overthinking it, like yes, and not fixating on how you look, if your tie's working, if your office looks perfect, that's going to build that genuine relatability with an audience through socials.
And I get that anxiety. I mean, I can speak on stages and whatever and not have, I mean, sometimes I have a lot of anxiety about it, but most of the time I feel comfortable. But then we did this, event in DC and had a videographer and he was like, all right, we need you to, record some stuff. And I was like, like just like kind of panic so it's a muscle, it's like working
It
out a different muscle group and it's just something that becomes, I'm sure you're pretty comfortable doing that. And it's something that you've built up over time.
Y'all, posting on LinkedIn at 23 was not a comfortable mindset for me. But after a few reps, you're just like, you know what? I know what like, I know that I'm passionate about this and I know it's going to show up. And so if our industry can just show up with a mentality where it's like, I'm not doing this for me and I'm not going to overthink it, it's going to go way further than someone that re-records it 35 times.
So,
So
guys, we are in the last 10 minutes. We're in the fourth quarter. If you've got questions, comments, like biggest takeaway so far, personally for me, that when I'm doing a call to action, act like I'm talking to my friends. Uh, I'm going to use that. Like that's not been my mantra. But by the way, my mantra has always been be valuable to the consumer. Like if I'm talking to loan officers, you're my consumer, and I'm gonna. How can I use social media? How can I give a commercial that delivers value to my audience? Like that's been my mantra. I'm going to keep that mantra because I do think that's a good one, but I like just from a casualness. And then one more comment on that, everybody. Like one of the biggest mistakes I see with loan officers when they'll do like an update or they'll do like this really killer. It's educational and it has a call to action, and the call to action sucks. It's like, oh, call me or text me, DM me. I mean, someone's going to do it, but like put a little more like, hey, and if, the story I just told you, if you would like me to do that for you, DM me or text me. Like put a little extra value on that. Not against the knife commercial, but a little extra consumer value. So
Can I
got
give
9 minutes, Allie.
can I
Go
give
ahead.
one more just like something I learned in the past 3 months, and I think it's really going to help creators that I've coached, but also this group. I know there's about 60 people on here, but one thing that I learned in working with my real estate agent was he did this thing where I interviewed him after and I was like, listen, you're crushing on socials. This is something I'm really passionate about. Can I just talk to you about like your business model? And he's like, yeah, I mean, 80% of my business comes from TikTok. And he closed, I want to say like 12 million in the month of November, like some awesome number. I was like, oh my gosh, through TikTok. And so I was talking to him and he was like, I use the hashtag moving to Nashville. And so that reaches out of state buyers that are moving to Nashville. And he's like, the amount of leads that I get from out of state that want me to do walkthroughs and show them properties from afar, it leads to a ton of business from him because he's willing to do it, but also he's reaching them through that hashtag. And then another thing he does is in the caption, he says, comment home and I'll send you the listing link. And so whether you are a mortgage loan officer on here that is wanting to use something similar, you can say comment mortgage and we'll set up time to talk about how we can make this happen for you. Or if you're wanting to help your real estate agent partners and you're saying, hey, I just learned the social media tactic, let's talk about it. You can say comment home and then they can send the NMLS listing or they'll send the whatever listing that they have virtually. And that makes the consumer all of a sudden a warm lead. So like for him, he posted a walkthrough. I commented home. He DM'd me the link to the home. And then he said, "Hey, I'd love to learn more about your home buying journey. If you want to get into this house, let me know. I'm happy to set up time. Otherwise, I'd love to know your timeline." So easy, not hardcore selling. I asked for a direct message from him. And then he has an open line of communication. And I feel some loyalty because now I've asked him to direct message me. So I hope that makes sense. But in the caption, if you guys are really wanting to up level your social strategy, if you say something like comment home and I'll send you a link, then you have the opportunity to DM them. And then it's a lot easier of a conversation versus reaching out cold, you know? So I do recommend that is a great way to incorporate a call to action, whether it's a listing or talking about some type of educational content from a mortgage lens. That's going to lead to a lot easier of trust building if they ask for a reach out first.
Hey, hey, Ali, would you be game introducing Colton, your realtor, to Kristen and I, and maybe the four of us doing a podcast together? I think that would be awesome to like
Yeah,
they have you, his customer, and a mortgage leader, and we all did a little session with Colton. Would you be game?
yeah, totally. I will reach out to him and just see his thoughts. I have not recorded anything with him, so I don't know how he feels on it, but I will totally reach out and ask.
Cool. Yeah. By the way, guys, would you like that? Would you like to hear firsthand from this awesome realtor who's killing it on TikTok? Yep, we got some hands. We got some people that want it. All right. So, Kristen, we got
Yeah,
5 minutes. Where do you want to go?
couple quick things. I feel like I could ask you so many questions forever, but I did want to ask about webinars and video, like hosting webinars particularly. We have probably 30 to 40% of our ambassadors who are regularly hosting webinars and using social media to advertise those, not necessarily using advertising, but to share those. Do you have any tips or strategies for how to do that effectively?
Yeah, this is the Achilles heel for me. Like I'm just like I feel like webinars are so hard for everyone to figure out. People sign up, then they don't show up. Like it's just hit or miss. So I would say not overexerting your energy, doing once a month and then prioritizing like promo 3 weeks out. So that people know. And I will say people that are serious will show up. But I would also challenge you instead of doing a webinar, maybe do a TikTok live. It's crazy. Like I at one point was looking to buy a new car and I remember Googling it, asking chat, and then all of a sudden I opened up my TikTok and there's a LinkedIn live of a girl talking about how to buy your first car. And I sat there and I watched it because the algorithm feeds you what you're Googling, what you're talking about, what you're looking up on Amazon. And so when people are looking to buy a home, if they open up TikTok and they see a TikTok live on it, they're more likely to stay. And I will say you won't get 400 people, but you might get like 15 to 20 people. And in time when you're setting up your computer, you're getting into your office, maybe you dedicate 15 minutes every morning to go on LinkedIn or to go on TikTok live. I think that would be a good way to like maybe substitute time from a webinar, do a webinar maybe once a month versus more routine and then try to go on LinkedIn or not LinkedIn, TikTok live and see how that works. But outside of that, webinar promotion, I think doing it 3 weeks out, you have to do it early enough. And then maybe having some type of like, I don't know, some type of incentive for attending, whether it's like a drink card or like something that someone that attends gets.
Okay. Love it. That's super helpful. And then I do want to round out because we're going to create a Gen Z playbook based on this conversation. We'll send this out to attendees and our ambassadors. But we have some questions here on hashtags, but I did want to ask you about the approach or like the mindset. You started out talking about how Gen Z often feels that homeownership is out of reach or it's not something that they're very skeptical about it. And I know one of the respondents in your survey talked about this fear of not knowing enough, kind of keeping people out of the conversation. So I know everything that you've talked about is a big part of that, but but anything else around mindset or even approach to home buying that would be helpful as they're thinking about the type of content that's going to connect best, whether it be co-buying or helping people just to feel more comfortable with the knowledge itself.
Yeah, for sure. And I had some, I'm sorry, I'm on my a weird laptop right now, so I'm trying to find the deck that I had pulled up with some stats, but like um 67% had never heard of buy downs. 51% said they'd be more likely to buy sooner if they knew they existed. So just things around products, really, I think it's you need to be intentional about how you position it, but there's really not a ton of information out there. So painting it in a storytelling light. And then, like Kristen said, co-buying, we did ask about that. 68% of Gen Z said they'd consider co-buying or co-borrowing. And when I think about that, that's really interesting because like I have a brother and friends, and just you don't even know that you can buy a house with other people. And then the last thing that I would say was super interesting and is a good talking point is a lot of these people were still living at home with their parents. Between 22 and 25-year-olds, 52% of them still lived with their parents at home. And so just talking about, hey, are you living with mom and dad? Like, is this something that let's talk about timeline and just like really where you're trying to go. And a lot of them reported the reason for still living at home was for financial like benefit. So trying to gain money and like savings. So I don't think that they are necessarily in a spot where they're ready to buy, but they're also just like thinking about being a smart young investor. So I would say just keeping those things in mind. And then when it comes to creating content, lead with a storytelling lens. Don't lead with, oh my gosh, there's this great product. Say, oh, I just worked with a first time home buyer, her and her dog. You know, they had no idea this existed. And so I wanted to share it with y'all what it means and how it can help home buyers. And that is a lot more approachable than something that's like an image that breaks down what a buy down is, you know?
That's awesome. Okay, well, I cannot believe we're at top of the hour. Thank you so
Oh,
much for spending some time with us. I am gonna, Alex, if you could drop the industry community link. If anybody is not part of the First Home IQ community, we of course have a fantastic ambassador program with lots of education resources in here. But for anybody else that's not ready to be an ambassador, we have our research and education resources, advocacy information, and all of our past events. Including this one will be loaded up in the community, and we will have the recording and the playbook in here as well as all of our past events. So make sure to join that if you are not already part of it. And Dave, any last words?
So the question about do other demographics like all these things? And the answer is yes. I don't care whether it's boomer, X, millennial, what Gen Z wants, everyone wants. Now, by the way, maybe not everyone is on TikTok the same, so that might separate your audience, but they like authentic people. They like people that don't have commission breath. They like people that are educating them beyond what they can get on Google, and they want to, I think in my lifetime, humans want to do business with humans, but they want to do business with humans that are leveraging technology to create more convenience, to create more value, to create more educational entertainment. So, Allie, it's always a gift being with you, and it's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Allie.
thank you all so much for having me. Any other opportunity to get involved, please let me know. And thank you all for hopping on. If there's any follow-up questions, I'm a quick LinkedIn, Instagram message away. Always happy to help. And y'all are in an amazing community, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Hey, one closing thought. Allie said she's got a big announcement coming on Monday on LinkedIn. Make sure you
Yeah,
check it out.
and
Make sure
Instagram.
you give it a like, give it an engage, help her with the algorithm gods, and take care, everybody.
All right,
Thank
take
y'all.
care, everybody.
Take
Bye.
care.